Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I am here with a very special project today. As you may or may not know, Jennifer McGuire over at jennifermcguireinc.com is hosting the Share Handmade Kindness Challenge during the month of November. And this is all about sharing kindness with the people around us. And she kicked this off a couple weeks ago and she sent me this amazing box of goodies. And so today I'm going to be creating a card project with this week's theme in mind. And this week's theme is all about sharing handmade kindness with the people who work in our community. So doctors, nurses, policemen, firemen, those sorts of things. So I'm going to be using that stamp set that you see there, and that's called Acts of Kindness. And this is from Hero Arts. And it's amazing because part of the proceeds that come from the sale of these stamps is going to be donated to the Kind Campaign, which is a campaign or an organization that is meant to end bullying in schools. So a great cause. And of course, I have my Kindness is Magic tattoo on my wrist for today's project. And today I'm going to create a project with kind of doctors or nurses in mind. As some of you may or may not know, I am a registered nurse here at the hospital in my community, and really it does mean the world to me when people are appreciative of the work that we do. So I'm starting out with these printed kind of EKG forms here. Now, these aren't entirely accurate, but what I did was I Googled EKG clip art, and this is what I came up with. And I printed out a bunch of these. I kind of scaled them to fit this stitch circle die that I'm going to be using from My Favorite Things, and I printed them out on my laser printer. Now I'm going to be doing a little bit of foiling on these with my Minc, my Heidi Swap Minc, so it's important that these are printed out on a laser printer. But don't worry, I have a project for you if you do not have a laser printer. I have kind of an alternative project for you. The other option is that you can always take something like this, a document that you've created, and have them printed at a copy center so that you have that toner on the paper, because that is really what reacts with the foil and makes the foil stick to the image. So I went ahead and cut out all of my EKG forms there with my stitch circle die, and now I'm going to cut out several of these hearts. Now this is a nesting heart die from We Are Memory Keepers Lifestyle Crafts. And so I've cut out about 9 of each of these. Now I'm bringing in my Minc Mini here and I'm turning it on, and I'm going to go ahead and use the 4 setting today, and I'm going to be using some deco foil. Now don't lose your minds, y'all, because I am using silver today, not gold. So shocker, I know, I can hardly stand it myself. So I'm just taking these die cut EKG circles, I'm placing them into the carrier sheet that comes with the Minc Mini, and then I'm going to run 2 of them through at a time. So I'm just taking a strip of this silver deco foil and laying it across where that toner is on the paper, and then I'm going to put it through my Minc Mini. Now I'm kind of lazy and I like to do things the quickest and easiest way. So I have a second carrier sheet, and while that one is running through, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my second one. And I do kind of like to put a little pressure on those as they come out, but be very careful because it is very hot and you can burn yourself. So like I said, as those were running through, I went ahead and prepared a second carrier sheet, and I kept running these through just like this until all of them were foiled. I'm going to run the second set through and then show you that when I remove these from the carrier sheet, I have these amazing silver foil EKG forms that I can use. And like I said, this is kind of a doctor nurse theme. So you may find something else that you want to use for like a teacher or policeman, but you can kind of use this same layout that I'm using, but just maybe change some of the images to fit the person that you want to create for. Now here's all the hearts that I cut out. Now I cut these out from smooth Bristol cardstock, and I kind of want to leave them in their negative space, and I thought I could do it without kind of adhering them in place, but that was becoming really kind of a pain. So I went ahead and flipped these over and used some gentle painter's tape on the back to keep them in their negative space, because I'm going to be doing a little ink blending. So once I got that little bit of adhesive to hold them in place, it worked much better. And I'm starting out with some worn lipstick, and I'm going to kind of create an ombre effect. So I'm starting out with warm lipstick on the bottom. I'm blending that about 2/3 of the way up each of these hearts. And once I get that blended towards the bottom of these hearts, I'm going to come in with the Spun Sugar Distress ink, and I'm going to blend kind of right over that line where they're going to meet, and then all the way up to the top of the heart. And I'm just going to kind of keep going back and forth between these 2 colors until I get the real blend that I want. Like I said, I'm trying to keep them real light at the top and dark at the bottom. So here I'm going back in with a little more worn lipstick to build up that color along the bottom. Remember, you can always add color, but you can't take it away. Now, I really felt like there needed to be a little bit more darkness along the bottom of these hearts. So I'm just taking a little bit of Festive Berries. I'm going to blend that up from the bottom and then hit that one more time with the worn lipstick to kind of blend that together. Now here's that Acts of Kindness stamp set. I'm going to show you two versions. I'm going to create a version for me to give to my coworkers, and then I'm going to create a version that you could give maybe to your doctor or nurse or any doctor or nurse that you may come across in the community. So one says thanks for your kindness, and the other says a little bit of kindness to brighten your day. So I've mounted each of these onto my clear blocks, and it really does make a difference to make sure that your sentiments are mounted straight on your clear blocks. So take the time to do that. And then I've got two pieces of vellum here. I've prepped all four ends with some EK Success powder tool. And I'm taking these sentiments and I'm inking them up in Versamark ink, and I'm stamping one on each end. Now this is because I'm mass producing and I want to create a bunch of these at once. So I'm getting four sentiments out of this kind of one step. So now I'm just adding my ultrafine detail embossing powder from Ranger. I'm going to let my heat tool heat up really well before I take it to the vellum, and that's going to prevent some warping. And then I'm going to heat set all of these sentiments. Now, like I said, because I'm making multiples of these, I kind of did it from each end, but you can, if you're only doing one or two, you may not want to do this. So once those cooled, I went ahead and took them over to my paper trimmer and trimmed them into strips. And now I'm trimming down these circles. I'm just trimming about a 1/4 inch off the edge of those. And I made sure that they were straight by making sure that line on the EKG form was straight along one of the lines of my paper trimmer. So I want to add these hearts on, but I decided I wanted to add them on with an action wobble, but they're a little too large to fit behind my heart. So I'm cutting these down right around that spring to make them fit behind my heart. I really like these action wobble springs. I've been kind of using them a lot lately, but I think it's fun to add this dimensional interactive element to your card, especially on something like a heart with an EKG. It just kind of makes it feel like it's beating. I don't know. It was just a fun idea. And now I'm going to trim down these vellum strips with a little banner end. And I'm just doing that by cutting up the center and then cutting from each corner to that center slit. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp my card base. This is a Simon Says Stamp Fog card base, and I inked up this diagonal line stamps from My Favorite Things. It's a background stamp, and I realized that I had put the stamp away dirty. There was red ink on it. So you saw me there just cleaning off my stamp pad by rubbing it on a piece of scratch paper, and my stamp pad is not ruined. I saved the day. So now I'm just taking that card base and I'm laying it on top of that background stamp and just pressing all over it. And now I have some of those diagonal lines. It's just going to add a little texture to that card base. And then I'm going to adhere some of this metallic silver cardstock. This is from Tim Holtz. It's a 6x6 paper pad. I use quite a bit of it. I really like the gold, but this was a chance for me to use a little bit of silver. And to attach these circles onto my card front, I'm just using a little foam adhesive. Now, when I went back and mass produced all these, I did actually end up cutting some fun foam because I thought it was just a little bit quicker and it made sure that those were nice and stable on my card front. This card front, by the way, is cut to 3.5 by 5.5 inches. And then once I get that circle adhered on there, I'm going to add some tape runner adhesive to the back of that. And I'm taking this vellum strip, I'm just wrapping it around that card front and then attaching that all to the card base. And to keep that from kind of flipping up, I'm just going to add a little multi-matte medium behind the embossed area. And I'll lay that down and just put a clear stamp block over that to keep that in place while that adhesive kind of sets up. Now, when I went back and I put all 9 of these together, I actually ended up just kind of trimming off those ends instead of tucking it behind the card front. Now, because I cut so much of that adhesive off of those action wobble springs, I did go ahead and reinforce that by adding a little multi-medium in the matte finish behind that to make sure that it doesn't fall off. And to add a little bit more sparkle to the front of these cards, I'm just finishing it off with some sparkling clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. So there you have it, a really fun card to share with a doctor or a nurse in your community. And take it from me, if you showed up at a hospital and showed up on one of the units with just cards of appreciation for the nurses and food, we love food, they they will love it, they will love you, and they will really feel appreciated. I wanted to give you another option for this card. I'm doing the same thing, cutting a 1/4 inch off of this circle with that EKG form on it. But if you don't have the foiling tools, I wanted to give you an option that you could really make here on your own. So I printed this out, I've cut it with my circle, and now I'm just going to stamp this sentiment along the bottom in some VersaFine Black Onyx ink. And I've taken the same heart that I created before, so I blended that and I've added an action wobble to the back, and I'm attaching that to that circle die cut as well. And then I'm going to attach that on there with some foam adhesive onto my card front. Now for this one, instead of using a fog cardstock base, I am using just some Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock. I'm adding a strip of black and white pattern paper along the side. And then for this one, I did decide to add a little bit of gold. So I'm just taking a strip of that metallic cardstock from Tim Holtz. This is in the gold. And I'm adding it on with a little bit of the Tombow glue pen. And I've recently rediscovered this pen. I really like having it in my stash. It's great for these little things, little areas that you need to kind of adhere together, or those intricate die cuts that you want to stack on top. So now I'm going to go ahead and add this 3.5 by 5.5 piece. This just kind of covers up those seams and cleans up those edges, just like I did on the other one. And then of course my circle, I'm going to adhere to the card front using some fun foam behind it. And I just use a little tape runner adhesive, but you could use some liquid glue behind this or some Be Creative tape as well. Now I finished this card off in the same way and added some more sparkling clear sequins to the front of this card, because just because we don't have the foil doesn't mean we can't add a little sparkle. And that completes my card projects for today. So some really great ideas for sharing kindness throughout the community that you live in. I hope you will really take this challenge to heart. Go check it out over on Jennifer McGuire's blog, and I'll link that below. As always, I will have links to all the products used in these projects in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, where you can see more still shots and get more information. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll spend this month sharing handmade kindness with those around you. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.